possession cults, or the ancestors in China. Such ideas are universal because they're rooted in human nature, resurfacing with each new generation. These naturally occurring beliefs are among the most distinctive characteristics of our species. Judging by the observable behaviours of chimpanzees, bonobos, and gorillas, our closest primate relatives do not conjure up a world in which spirits of the dead demand to be fed, placated, or petitioned for assistance. And yet, in human societies, such ideas proliferate like wildfire. While the specific features of these beliefs are expressed in endlessly different ways in different cultural groups, their basic components crop up time and again through our history. In other words, the things we transmit from one generation to the next, our cultural traditions, have taken some remarkably diverse forms, but all are ultimately rooted in our evolved psychology. This combination of our culturally evolved traditions and our biologically evolved intuitions constitutes our collective inheritance as a species, passed down to us by countless generations of our ancestors. This is a book about that inheritance and the dangers of squandering it. And it's a book about how we might invest our inheritance more wisely in the future. Human nature and our unnatural history. The most basic building blocks of our common inheritance are three natural biases that have been repeatedly observed in all human societies. The first is conformism, the fact that we avidly copy others, sponging up the rituals and other customs of the groups we are raised in, including laying out food offerings in special buildings if that's what people around us happen to be doing. The second is religiosity, that we're naturally inclined to acquire and spread ideas about gods, spirits, and ancestors. The third is tribalism, our oftentimes passionate loyalty to groups, whether that means laying on lavish feasts or risking life and limb on the battlefield. These three biases are crucial to understanding how and why the history of the world has unfolded in the way it has. But while I argue these beliefs have natural foundations, this book is not a work of crudely reductionist evolutionary psychology, arguing that human behaviour is somehow genetically determined. It's a book about how our natural biases have been harnessed and extended by thousands of years of cultural evolution, enabling us to overcome the limitations of nature so that we can cooperate in increasingly large-scale societies. Cultural evolution has augmented and extended our natural predispositions and susceptibilities. Together, these two evolutionary processes, biological and cultural, have produced the cumulative wealth of human knowledge and technology that define the modern world. The process of harnessing our natural dispositions and overcoming their limitations happened in different ways at different times and places. But there are also striking patterns lurking beneath the diversity. To grasp the deep structure of the process, it helps to think of the inhabited world as a giant garden. The wondrous variety of plants in it are like all the diverse patterns of culture found throughout the world. Many of the grasses and bushes grow wild. We can think of these as cultural practices rooted in our natural biases to conform, to believe, and to belong. Wild plants sprout everywhere, despite all efforts to weed them out, or at least to bring them under control in the name of science, religious orthodoxy, or some other source of authority. Nevertheless, there are also plant species in the garden that have been deliberately planted, trees bearing exotic fruits whose thorny defences against predators have been tamed through selective breeding. This is where our natural dispositions and susceptibilities have been harnessed and extended, cultivated, in other words, to produce a great diversity of cultural systems. Such trees represent the first state formations and organized religions in world history, in which autocratic rulers first emerged and humans were often killed to please and placate the gods. Although some species of these fruit trees may long since have been felled, they were once widespread across many regions of the garden. And because their stumps remain scattered around, they're still a haunting presence in the garden thousands of years later. And finally, there are cloned trees planted in neat rows across the length and breadth of the garden. These are the highly unnatural social systems that define